Hello, and welcome to Sweet to Neat, our bourbon journey. We're at the Bourbon Bookshelf today with our introductory video.
I'm the QOE, Queen of Everything, hence the crown, Peggy.
And I'm the medicine man, Rich. We wanted to create this series to be a resource for anyone intrigued by bourbon but put off by the impression that sipping bourbon is akin to drinking gasoline. Many whiskey YouTube channels exist out there to review whiskeys and give you recommendations about which whiskeys are worth buying, but I haven't seen any that talked about why you would want to try to approach what feels like sipping gasoline, or how to learn to get from drinking cocktails to drinking bourbon neat. Yes. I had always had a romanticized view of those who drank bourbon neat as being in control and suave. But in my journey,
Wealth and power.
what's that?
Wealth and power.
Yes. But in my journey from drinking sweet cocktails to then old fashions and finally taking the leap into sipping bourbon neat, I found out that sipping neat not only opened up new experiences and flavors, but beyond the alcohol effect, I realized that sipping neat provides a chance to relax and slow down and concentrate on what you're doing and the flavors you're experiencing, and really, in a way, is almost a time of meditation, and is certainly something that spending time with others, I really find a very relaxing way in today's busy world to take a few minutes and just enjoy.
Our daughter will be the gas meter. She has whether it's a
Right, we're going to introduce Princess Paige's gas tank to rate the intensity of the gasoline effect on bourbons. So what has you interested in drinking bourbon neat?
well, I enjoy it because we started this together, and I love an old fashioned. That's one of my favorite cocktails. And as I've become drinking them neat, I enjoy the variety of flavor that you get from each bottle. They're all different. Doesn't matter what brand, even if it's the same brand, each bottle's different. You feel the heat different, you feel the flavor, the smell. Some are more ethanol-like, some are sweet, some are fiery, some are soft on the palate and relaxing. But most of all, I enjoy it's time that we spend together, either just the two of us or with friends and family, to sit around and just enjoy each other's company.
All right. Through this series, we intend to explore, helping you with learning to drink bourbon neat, the glassware that we recommend, and what your options are for glassware, and also go through recommendations about bourbons to start with and how to start a bourbon collection.
Don't feel you have to be fancy about any of it, because you can drink it literally from any glassware you have.
And that is true. As Freddie Johnson, the bourbon ambassador for the Buffalo Trace Company, phrased it, the way you enjoy your whiskey is the right way to enjoy
Did you
whiskey.
know that Buffalo Trace, I just read this today, Buffalo Trace now has an adult summer camp.
Oh, I want to go. But we will be creating videos on an ongoing basis, so we invite you to subscribe, and please share these videos with others who you think might be interested in learning to take the step into drinking bourbon neat, or at least finding out why they might want to think about trying neat bourbon. During these videos, many of them we hope to include both a cocktail recipe and
That's
a review.
the sweet.
Right, and a review of a neat bourbon. So we're going to start with the classic cocktail, the old fashioned.
We're not staying dumb here, so you're going to get a little history lesson on why we are drinking what we're drinking and how it came to be. And he's the professor. He will explain what the history is.
So the history of the old fashioned, when cocktails were first created, cocktails were whiskey, sugar, and bitters, and maybe a little water. over time, bartenders started to add liqueurs in place of the sugar and bitters. And then many people started to ask for a cocktail the old-fashioned way. And James E. Pepper is credited with creating the old-fashioned. So in honor of him, for today's whiskey, we're using James E. Pepper whiskey. This is a whiskey that's a blend of corn, rye, malted barley, and malted rye. They don't give a distinct mash bill, but it is distilled and aged in Lexington, Kentucky at the James E. Pepper Distillery, and it is aged in toasted and charred Kentucky oak barrels, and the average age of the whiskeys in the blend is over 5 years. The whiskey's bottled at barrel strength and is unfiltered.
Who is the father of all bourbon?
Well, there's a lot of debate about that. Elijah Craig is often credited with being the first to put whiskey in charred oak barrels to age it. But no one actually knows for certain who the father of bourbon is.
Did it start in Kentucky?
Again, there's debate about that. But Elijah Craig, I believe, was in Kentucky when he created that. But many of the original distilleries were in Kentucky for bourbon. The original American whiskey was actually rye. But bourbon has been credited as being the American whiskey because it is the only whiskey that has to be distilled in America to be called bourbon.
And that's the difference between rye can be anywhere?
Rye can be made anywhere. I believe when rye is made in the United States, there are some strict guidelines about it. Bourbon is actually subjected to specific guidelines about what goes into the distillate. The mash of grains has to be at least 51% corn.
Gotta support our farmers.
Right. And it has to be aged in new charred oak barrels for it to be a bourbon.
How big is each barrel?
That's a good question. I know that most barrels are able to fill in the range of 200 bottles, 150 to 200 typically, depending on how long it's aged, because
Are they all the same size? Same.
the most bottles are 750 milliliter bottles.
Okay.
There are bigger and smaller, and if you get a handle of whiskey, that's 1.75 liters of whiskey. But most bottles are 750. If they're not 750, the next most common is to be a 375 milliliter bottle, or half the size.
Wow.
Many distilleries are moving to 700 milliliter bottles because those are more acceptable in other countries. But 750 is still the standard at this time.
Okay. That's metric. We normally
Milliliters, yes.
we normally don't do a metric system.
But bourbon is bottled in 750 milliliter bottles.
Interesting.
Yes, I don't know the reason for that. That is the standard.
All right, well, here we go with an old fashioned. It starts out, now I lost my tongues.
With the sugar cube.
Yeah, got it.
Ah,
Now, originally it was with a sugar cube. Nowadays, it's more common to have simple syrup, which is basically sugar water that's been boiled.
50% sugar, 50% water, unless it's more a high strength simple syrup.
And it's 3 dashes of
Angostura bitters.
Angostura bitters. Some people do the original and some people add orange bitters to it. I'm just doing the original. You take a drop of water, that's to bring out the flavor in the bourbon.
Yes. And we'll go through different ways of sipping bourbon in a future video.
There's my drop of water. And we're gonna mash that,
This is
Or
called
muddle it.
muddling, yes.
soften the sugar up, muddle the flavor, just to mix it all up. You gonna add your ice and 2 ounces of bourbon of your choice.
Some people will object at using a relatively expensive bourbon. This runs typically $65 a bottle MSRP. We got it for a little less than that. But then if you go to bars that do a lot of old fashions, they will use high-end bourbons because the high-end bourbons tend to be the stronger bourbons. And in old fashioned, you really want a higher proof bourbon to bring out the flavors.
And I am no bartender by any means.
You're doing great.
And you're gonna stir that up to chill it. Get it nice and cold. And I wanna dissolve the sugar in the bottom. And you're gonna take a slice of orange peel, give it a twist to get the
Express the
express
oils.
the oils out of the peel. Run it around the rim. Drop it in your drink, give it some flavor. And then you're gonna add some cocktail cherry and a little bit of
Bring
the
it back
juice.
over to Evan.
Oops, sorry. Drop that in. Give it another stir. And there you have an old fashioned. And you can make it any way you like it.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's so good.
For our neat pour today, I'm drinking the bourbon that started me down this path. This is the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Heritage Barrel. It is a toasted barrel bourbon. The mash bill is 80% corn, 12% malted barley, and 8% rye. And the barrels are toasted for 24 minutes as opposed to the typical 12-minute toasting. And then the barrels are flash charred.
How far does that get to the barrel? If it's only that many minutes, it seems like it's very short.
Now, the entire inside of the barrel is charred.
And it goes by depths, right?
It goes by length of time that they char. So the longer they char, the deeper it goes into the wood. The longest char, level 4, is called an alligator char because the wood literally looks like alligator skin afterwards. The more time spent charring the wood, the more of that oaky flavor will be imparted to the bourbon, but then you also can get more burnt flavors.
Do they use any other barrels beside oak?
Has to be a charred oak barrel to be bourbon.
Okay.
Bourbons can be finished in other barrels afterwards, but to be a bourbon, it has to be a charred oak barrel that it's initially aged in.
Are there more than one barrel company that they use? Or the trees company?
I want to say there's a few dominant barrel companies, but there are companies that make their own barrels.
Okay.
So this bourbon is also, the distillate is put in the barrel at 100 proof. Most bourbons are barreled at, initially put in the barrel at 125 proof to speed the process of aging and extracting the flavors. By going in at a lower proof and spending more time in the barrel, it allows a more mellow but deeper flavor often to be imparted into the bourbon. The Jack Daniel's Heritage Barrel was initially a special release, but now is as of this year, going to be an ongoing release of Jack Daniel's. The barrels are aged at least 7 years. This particular barrel, barrel 2602848, was barreled in July of 2018 and bottled March of 2026, so over 7.5 years old. The whiskey is proofed back down to 100 proof to go in the bottle.
Does that mean they just
They
add water
they
to
add
it
water.
to bring the alcohol level down?
Right, it typically comes out of the barrel 104 to 112 proof.
Okay.
They bottle it at 100 proof. If a bourbon is put in without proofing it down, it's called barrel strength or cask strength, and this is a cask strength bourbon.
Interesting. Who is the largest bourbon distillery?
Well, MGP probably produces the most bourbon in the country. They sell much of their product to other labels who then age it and bottle it.
So they don't produce their own?
They do produce some of their own too. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which ones. Brown-Forman is one of the biggest distillers and bottlers. They have Jack Daniels. Buffalo Trace also might even be bigger than Brown-Forman. And in each of those, there are many different companies under that umbrella, so that trying to think of a good example, like the Stag is a Buffalo Trace product.
Okay. Tell them what you've learned about the neck pour and then the bottle pour.
Well, this is my experience, and there is some debate about this among bourbon connoisseurs. I believe the neck pour is...
Which is this top portion, correct?
Right, when you first do a fresh crack of the bottle and you pour it out, I believe the neck pour is often a more intense experience.
High on the gasoline.
More intense
Foot
ethanol.
on the gas.
And after the bottle has had a chance to sit and interact with the air that's been introduced to the bottle for days or weeks, I believe it takes on a more mellow flavor and often is more enjoyable. But some people say that they don't think there's any difference between a neck pour.
I see a difference.
And actually, one of our upcoming videos will be putting that to the test.
Cool.
So again, we hope you subscribe and share these videos with others who you think would be interested. And remember, the way you enjoy your whiskey is the right way to enjoy your whiskey. Cheers.
Cheers.